I didn't expect to see her that night. Not like that, anyway. I was just supposed to drop off a charger my girlfriend left behind. Quick in and out. No reason to stay. The apartment door was open, the hallway light a dim yellow spill across the wooden floor. Music came from inside, something slow, low volume, like the kind of song people only play when they're not expecting company. Then she appeared from the kitchen. Her roommate, Marissa. She was drying her hands with a dish towel, her hair still damp from a shower. Mid-40s, I think. Confident in the quiet way people are when they've already figured out what parts of themselves are worth showing. "You must be Liam," she said, smiling. Not warm. Exactly. Just measured. Like she was taking stock. "Yeah. Sophie forgot her charger." I held it up like proof I had a reason to exist there. She nodded toward the couch. "You can leave it there." I should have left. But there was something about her voice. Low. Calm. That made me stay an extra second. She poured herself a glass of water, took a slow sip, then leaned on the counter. "Sophie's at her friend's place tonight," she said. "Won't be back till late." The air between us felt heavier after that. Not uncomfortable, just too aware. I tried not to look directly at her, but my eyes didn't exactly listen. I mumbled something about work, just to fill the quiet. She asked what I did, and I told her, auto repair, just started full-time. She said her car made a strange sound when starting. I said I could check it out sometime. That was the first shift. Small, barely noticeable, but I felt it. She raised an eyebrow. "You offering free labor to all your girlfriend's roommates." Her tone was teasing, but her eyes didn't match. They held. Too long. I laughed, trying to play it off. "Depends how bad the sound is." Marissa smirked, a real one this time, and looked away. "It's not the car that's the problem. It's probably me." Something about the way she said that, casual but tired, made me want to stay. Not out of attraction, exactly. Just something else. Like she'd cracked a window into her life for a second, and I wanted to know what was behind it. She asked if I wanted some tea before I left. I said sure, even though I don't drink tea. The kettle took forever to boil. The whole kitchen went quiet except for that slow whistle. When she handed me the mug, our fingers brushed. Barely a touch, but it felt deliberate, even if it wasn't. I could smell the faint scent of soap and something floral. Maybe her shampoo. Neither of us said anything for a long moment. Finally, she smiled again, soft this time. "You're a polite kid, Liam. Don't lose that. Most people your age rush through everything." "Trying not to," I said. And then, maybe it was my imagination, her expression flickered, like she wanted to say something else, but didn't. I left soon after. The tea was too hot to drink, but I carried it all the way to my car anyway. I didn't even realize until later that night that I still had her dish towel folded in my hand. I could have dropped it off the next day, but I didn't, because I couldn't stop replaying the way she looked at me, like she saw more than she should have. A week passed before I saw her again. Marissa had texted Sophie about her car making that noise again, and Sophie immediately volunteered me to check it out. "Since you offered," she said with a grin I didn't return. So, Saturday afternoon, I pulled up to their apartment with my toolbox and a knot in my stomach I didn't want to name. Marissa was outside, crouched by the front bumper, sunglasses pushed up in her hair. She looked up when she heard me. "You really showed up," she said, half smiling. "You sounded desperate," I said, kneeling beside her. "Didn't want you stranded." Her laugh was quick but tired. "You talk like someone twice your age." She stood, brushing her palms on her jeans, and stepped back while I popped the hood. The air smelled faintly of gasoline and lavender detergent. I worked quietly, the metallic clinks of tools filling the silence. She hovered nearby, arms crossed, trying to look casual but shifting her weight every few seconds. "You okay?" I asked, glancing up. She blinked, caught off guard. "Just didn't sleep much." I nodded. "Long week. Long month." She leaned against the fender. "Everything feels like maintenance lately. Cars, jobs, people." I didn't know what to say to that, but something about the way she said people felt heavier than it should. She caught me watching her and gave a small smile, like she regretted saying it. "Ignore me. You fix things. I just break them." "That's not true," I said quietly. Her eyes flickered, then dropped to the pavement. "You don't even know me, Liam." "Maybe not." I said, tightening a bolt. But I know the sound of something running fine and pretending it's not. That made her laugh, the kind of laugh that escapes before a person decides whether they should. It was softer than last time. Real. She came closer, resting her hand on the hood beside mine. Just for balance maybe, or maybe not. The sun hit the silver band on her finger, but the way her thumb rubbed against it told its own story. "You're good at this," she said. I shrugged. "It's simple. Machines don't lie." Her hand stayed where it was, fingers brushing the edge of mine when I reached for the wrench. A quiet kind of electricity hummed in the space between us. Not loud, not wrong, just there. The car engine started smooth on the first try. I closed the hood. She exhaled, relief softening her face. "Thank you," she said, and she meant it. When I went to pack my tools, she touched my arm lightly. A pause, not a gesture. "Stay for coffee?" I almost said yes. I wanted to. But Sophie's voice echoed somewhere in the back of my head, and I just shook mine instead. Her smile didn't drop, but something behind it did. "Another time, maybe," she said, almost to herself. That night, I found grease still on my hands, and I didn't wash it off right away. Because for a second, when she looked at me over the open hood, I swear it wasn't the car she wanted me to fix. It rained the whole evening, the kind of steady, quiet rain that turns streets into mirrors and makes you want to stay wherever you are. I was at Sophie's place, waiting for her to get back from class. She was late, and the storm wasn't letting up. Marissa opened the door before I even knocked. "She's running behind," she said. "Traffic's a mess." Her voice was soft, almost drowned by the sound of rain hitting the balcony. She wore a loose sweater, sleeves rolled halfway up, hair pulled back, but messy in a way that didn't look accidental. "You can wait inside," she added, stepping aside. The lights were dim, a small lamp on the coffee table painting the room gold. A book lay open on the couch. I sat, careful not to disturb the page. She poured wine into 2 glasses. "Just one," she said, handing me one before I could refuse. "It's too cold for manners." I smiled, then took a sip. It was stronger than I expected. We talked. Not about anything important. Movies, weather, her car behaving for once. But the conversation slowed between words, like something else was pacing underneath. At one point she laughed and covered her mouth, and I noticed how tired her eyes looked when the laughter faded. She caught me looking and said quietly, "You stare too much, you know that?" I looked away, but she didn't sound angry. More like she was trying to warn me, or herself. The rain got louder, filling the silence that followed. Then her phone buzzed on the counter. She didn't move, just stared at it until the buzzing stopped. "Work?" I asked. She shook her head. "No, someone I should have blocked months ago." I didn't ask more, but I could see the tension in her jaw, the way her thumb tapped her glass. She was fighting the urge to pick it up again. After a moment, she said, "You ever keep something in your life because it's easier than admitting it's over?" I hesitated. "Yeah," I said, "more than I should." She looked at me for a long time. "You remind me of someone I used to know." Her voice caught a little on "used to." Lightning flashed, briefly lighting up the room. For a second, she looked her age and none of it at once. Something shifted, or maybe I just wanted it to. I could have said something then. Could have asked who she meant, or told her what I was thinking. But I didn't. Instead, I stood up, pretending to check the rain outside. My reflection in the window looked older than I felt. When I turned back, she was closer, holding out my jacket. "You'll need this when you leave," she said. Our hands brushed when I took it. A tiny, wordless thing, but it landed harder than it should have. Her phone buzzed again. Neither of us moved. Outside, thunder rolled somewhere distant. Inside, the only sound was her quiet breath, close enough that if I leaned in just a little more, I might forget why I shouldn't. I didn't, but I wanted to. It had been a week since the rain. A quiet week, the kind where messages go unsent and people pretend not to notice the absence. Then Sophie texted me, "Can you grab my notebook from the apartment?" So, once again, I found myself at Marissa's door, telling myself it was just an errand. She opened it before I could knock twice. "Hey," she said, voice steady but eyes uncertain. "Hey," I said back, and the word felt smaller than it used to. Sophie wasn't home. I knew that before asking. The place smelled like coffee and lemon cleaner. Music played softly from somewhere, an instrumental track with too much space between the notes. She went to get the notebook, but halfway down the hall she stopped. Turned. Liam, she said quietly. Her tone froze me. What are we doing? The question hung there, too heavy for the air it took. I don't know, I said, because it was the only honest thing that came out. She crossed her arms, not defensive, just holding herself together. You come here. You look at me like you're waiting for something. And I keep letting you. I don't even know why. Her voice cracked on the last word, barely audible. I opened my mouth, but nothing came. She shook her head, half laughing, half exhaling. You're young. You still think every feeling has a name. I took a step closer. You think I don't know what this is? Her eyes flicked up, sharp, then softened. No, I think you feel too much, and you don't know where to put it. The words hit harder than I expected. Maybe because she was right. We stood there, a few feet apart, everything unspoken pressed between us. The hum of the refrigerator, the ticking of a wall clock, both louder than our voices. I didn't mean to, she started, but stopped herself. I didn't think anyone would notice me again. That last line wasn't for me. It was just truth slipping out where she couldn't catch it. I wanted to say something that would make it less heavy, or maybe more honest, but the right words didn't exist. Instead, I reached out and took the notebook from her hand. Our fingers brushed again, and this time she didn't pull back. We stood like that, suspended in something that felt like a decision waiting to happen. Finally, she whispered, "We should stop this." Okay, I said, but neither of us moved. She laughed once, low, shaky. You don't even know what I'm asking you to stop. I think I do. Another silence. Then she looked up at me, eyes glassy but fierce. Then promise me you won't make this harder than it already is. I nodded. I'll try. She gave the faintest smile, tired, resigned, and whispered, almost too soft to hear. Then try harder. I didn't see her for almost 2 weeks. I told myself that was a good thing, space, perspective, all that mature stuff people talk about when they're trying to sound fine. Then one night, my phone buzzed. Marissa, if you're still up, could you come by? It's about Sophie. I went. Of course I did. When she opened the door, she looked different. Softer somehow, but not in a peaceful way. Like someone who'd been crying quietly for too long and finally ran out of energy. She's not hurt, she said quickly. I just didn't know who else to call. Inside, the living room was half-lit. Papers spread across the table, a half-empty glass of something amber beside them. She sat down, motioning for me to do the same. There was a photo on the table, an old one, slightly curled at the edges. 2 women, younger versions of her, and someone I didn't recognize. They were laughing, arms around each other, sun in their hair. That's my sister, she said. She died when she was 22. Her tone wasn't dramatic, just quiet, factual, like she'd said those words before, maybe too many times. I didn't know what to do with my hands. I just sat there listening. She was the fearless one, she went on. Always chasing things. People. Moments. I was the responsible one. The one who stayed. I could hear the rain again, softer this time, outside somewhere, as she traced the rim of her glass with a fingertip. When Sophie brought you around, she said, eyes fixed on the photo. For a second, I saw her again. My sister. The way you looked at the world. Like it was still wide open. She laughed once, under her breath. And it scared me. Because I forgot what that looked like. I wanted to tell her I wasn't anyone's ghost, that I didn't mean to remind her of someone she lost. But my voice felt caught somewhere between my chest and my throat. She looked up finally. You're too kind for your own good, Liam. Don't let people like me make you smaller. That last part landed like a confession, not of love, but of guilt. I said, quietly, you're not making me smaller. Her eyes flickered. You say that now. She stood, walked to the window, and pulled the curtain slightly aside. The streetlight outside caught the edge of her face, tired, beautiful, real. I thought I called you because of Sophie, she said. But I think I just didn't want to be alone tonight. She turned back toward me, voice breaking just once. And that's not fair to you. I shook my head. Maybe not. But I'm here. She looked at me for a long moment, longer than before. Something in her expression shifted, like she decided to stop pretending she didn't feel the weight of everything between us. "Then don't be," she whispered. And I realized she wasn't asking me to leave. She was asking me to understand why she might have to. It happened on a Sunday evening, the kind that feels like a held breath before the week begins again. Sophie was gone for the weekend, and I'd stopped by to return a book I'd borrowed. That was the excuse, anyway. Marissa opened the door in a sweatshirt, no makeup, her hair tied up like she hadn't expected company. She blinked at me, half-smile forming. "You really don't believe in calling first, do you?" "Guess not," I said. She stepped aside. I walked in. The air smelled faintly of rain and coffee. A candle flickered on the counter, barely half-burned. Neither of us said much. There wasn't much left to say after the last time. Everything felt stripped down, smaller words, longer pauses. She handed me a cup of tea without asking if I wanted one. I took it. "You look tired," I said. She gave a short laugh. That's becoming my permanent expression, apparently. We sat across from each other at the kitchen table. The candle flame wavered between us. She tapped her finger against her mug, a soft rhythmic sound that made the silence somehow louder. Finally, she said, "I've been thinking about what I said, about not wanting to be alone." I nodded, unsure if she wanted an answer. "I still don't," she added quietly. "But I also don't want to take something from you that you can't get back." I leaned back, staring at the steam rising from my cup. "You're not taking anything. You're just here." She looked at me. Really looked, the way she used to when she was trying to find the truth under my words. "You don't understand, Liam. Being seen feels dangerous after a certain age." Her voice trembled a little. "Because once you get used to being invisible, it hurts to be noticed again." The honesty in it nearly broke me. I set the cup down, the clink small but sharp in the quiet room. "Then I guess we're both in danger." She laughed, just once, but her eyes were wet. "You shouldn't say things like that." "Why not?" "Because it makes it real." Neither of us moved. The clock ticked somewhere behind me. The candle burned low, and every word left unspoken filled the space until it was almost unbearable. Finally, she stood and came around the table. I thought she might tell me to leave, or maybe she would. I don't know. But instead she just leaned her forehead lightly against mine. No kiss. No line crossed. Just that small, trembling contact. The kind that says everything language ruins. Her hand brushed my cheek for half a second before she stepped back. "You should go," she said softly. I nodded, but I didn't move. We both stood there, caught in that thin line between what's right and what's already too late. When I finally left, she didn't follow me to the door. She just stayed there, still, eyes closed, like she was memorizing the sound of me leaving. And outside, in the cooling air, I realized it wasn't the silence that broke me. It was how much it said. It's been months since that night. I've seen Marissa a few times since then, always in passing, always polite. No tension, no lingering looks. Just the quiet recognition between two people who went too close to the edge and came back different. Sophie and I ended not long after. Not because of Marissa, not really. We just started speaking two different languages and forgot how to translate for each other. When it finally ended, it felt like releasing a breath I'd been holding too long. Sometimes I drive past their old apartment on my way to work. The building's been repainted, the balcony light replaced. I still half expect to see her out there, arms crossed, hair pulled up, watching the rain like she always did. I don't stop. I don't need to. But every now and then, something small will bring her back. The smell of lemon cleaner, the sound of a slow jazz song on a rainy night, a woman's laugh that dips into silence too quickly. And I'll remember her saying, "Being seen feels dangerous after a certain age." I didn't understand it then. Now I think I do. Love, or whatever that space between us was, isn't always about what you take from someone. Sometimes it's about what you leave them with. A softness, a lesson, a mirror they didn't ask for, but maybe needed. Marissa reminded me that attention can be its own kind of love, not loud or lasting, but precise. She taught me that presence doesn't always mean possession. Sometimes it's enough to just witness someone, fully, without trying to fix or name it. And maybe that's what we were, two people who met at the wrong intersection of time, but still managed to see each other clearly for one honest moment. I don't regret it. Not the silence, not the confusion, not even the leaving. Because that night, when she leaned her forehead against mine, it wasn't about wanting more. It was about recognizing something human, the need to be known, even briefly, before the world goes back to normal. Now, when someone asks if I've ever been in love, I don't have an easy answer. I just think of her standing by that window, candlelight on her face, saying, "Try harder." And I realized maybe I did, not for her, but for the kind of person I became after her. If this story made you feel something, let me know in the comments. Would you want more stories like this?